This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, week number 15 in the National Football League. Houston Texans at home, where they're undefeated on the season, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or I think they've lost one game at home this season, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, for a Texans team that is in the midst of a divisional race, can't lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's really simple. Can't lose not only to the Jacksonville Jaguars, you can't lose at home to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not allowed. And so you've already beaten the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Got to go ahead and get the season sweep of the Jaguars if you're looking to win this division. And so this was a no-brainer. Take care of business at the crib. Put yourself in a position to win this division. You got a tough one, week 17. You don't want to overlook your week 16 opponent. But again, take care of the Jags, all right? They're the Jags. But as we all know, family business can be very, very tricky. And they almost fell into the trap, did the Jacksonville Jaguars, or excuse me, the Houston Texans. For the Jaguars, Gus. The Jaguars find ways to lose games, and this was a pretty creative way to lose. You know, you give up a safety in the end zone, you give up 4 field goals, and then you give up a late touchdown, and you throw an interception late when you had a shot. All you needed was a field goal. You had 2 possessions to get 1 field goal, and you couldn't do it late. Even get a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in this game. Still can't find a way to win. It's rough when you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that's the life of a 2-12 football team. We'll talk about their situation and the dismissal of Gus Bradley and what does that mean for this Jaguars team a little bit later on. But to the victors go the spoils. We'll start with the winners and the Houston Texans in this game. It was a close one. They dodged a bullet. And before we get into any breakdown, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We changed the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply subscribing to the Louie Tee Network on YouTube. Also, I'm on Twitter at In The Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. In The Lab Room is the Facebook page. So make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network on YouTube. All my social media platforms are right there in the center console scrolling across the screen so you can't miss them. So go ahead and handle that. Go ahead and take care of business. Let's break this game down. We're going to start with the Texans and what they were able to accomplish to get the 21-20 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars and run their record to 8-6 and remain tied atop the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans and their improbable victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Slow start to this game. A lot of mistakes, 2 turnovers by Brock Osweiler, interception that was sort of unfortunate. Look, you want him to bring that football down, but Will Fuller climbs the ladder. You want him to either come down with that or don't tip it to Jalen Ramsey. But he did, and it got picked off. You know, the second pick, you just can't throw the football right to the linebacker. He's standing right there. You see him. Don't throw it to him. He did. And it was one of those situations where enough is enough. You want to try to win the football game. You want to put yourself in the best position to win. And Brock Osweiler simply wasn't doing that for you at that very moment. Now, does this mean that this is a permanent change? I don't know. Savage played well. Gave them an opportunity to come back, battle back, and steal this game. So I don't know what their thought process is. The problem with the situation is that you don't want to admit you made a mistake. Not this early. And by benching Brock Osweiler, there's an omission there that says, hey, we made a mistake. We made a $72 million mistake, but it's a mistake nonetheless. And in year 1 of a 4-year deal, and again, they're not obligated to pay him $72 million. They can get out of this contract. It's not a 4-year deal. It's more like a 2-year deal. So there are exit ramps in this deal. Everyone made a big stink about this deal. It's really not as bad as it seems. So there's a way out for the Texans of this thing. But look, it's year one of Brock Osweiler. I've been patient with him this entire time. Most people haven't. Look, I get it. I understand. It's a business where you have to be productive. It's a productivity business. What have you done for me lately? And Brock Osweiler hasn't done much in this league, nor for this Houston Texans team. So from that standpoint, totally get the benching. And it worked out in their favor as Tom Savage came in. And he did what they needed him to do. He managed the game. He didn't make any huge mistakes like Osweiler had been making. He took them down the field when they had to have it. And they got in the end zone. And they won this football game. But make no mistake about it. This is a situation that's very dicey. At the end of a season, you don't want to be juggling around quarterbacks. And so they have to make a decision. And I think it's up to Bill O'Brien and his staff to make a conscious decision that they're going to roll with for the remainder of the season. You can't be playing yo-yo at the quarterback position. It's the most important position on the field. Either you're going to roll with Tom Savage, ooh yeah, the macho man Tom Savage, or you're going to roll with Brock Osweiler, but you can't be doing this whole yo-yo act, taking quarterbacks in and out throughout the course of a game. You're asking for trouble. Like I said, it worked this week because it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. When does it not work against the Jaguars? Everything works against the Jaguars. They're the Jaguars. But moving forward, you have to figure out who the guy's going to be, and you're going to have to roll with that guy. Okay? This isn't college. You don't do multiple quarterbacks consistently. So are you going to go back to Osweiler, give him another shot, and if he struggles, go back to Savage and stick with him? Or are you going to roll with Tom Savage, see what he's got, and go with that down the stretch? Either way, this decision moving forward is going to impact this team and go a long way in determining whether the Texans can win this division or not. But enough of the overview of this team and their status moving forward. Let's talk about this particular game. So you start off slow with the Osweiler turnovers and the benching of Osweiler. You're down 10-0 early. That lead grows to 13-0 in this football game for the Jags. You get on the board for the first time all game with the safety in the end zone on a holding penalty by the Jags while they're punting. You get another field goal to bring you within one score at 13-5. You get another field goal that brings you within 5 at 13-8. And then you give up the huge kickoff return, 100 yards to Marquise Lee to extend the lead out to 20-8. And at this point, I'm saying to myself, wow, the Texans are really trying to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Tom Savage, I thought he came in and he gave them a shot in this game. He made some good completions. Like I said, managed the game, didn't try to play outside of himself. If it wasn't there, he threw it away. Showed a little bit of mobility, more than you get from Brock Osweiler. Thought he threw the ball accurately when he did make up his mind as to where he wanted to go with the football. Didn't have a touchdown pass, but like I said, put them in positions to score field goals. And sometimes, much like the Steelers game against the Cincinnati Bengals on the road, sometimes you just got to chip away. You're not going to get it all at once. There's no such thing as a 14-point play in the National Football League. Sometimes you just got to kick field goals, take points, and just chip away at the lead and trust that your defense is going to give you opportunities to possess the football and continue to come back. And that's what happened in this game. 4 Nick Novak field goals a week after he made 5 field goals. And he kept them in the game with his kicking ability. Tom Savage kept putting them in field goal range, and they kept putting scores on the board, getting within striking distance of this Jaguars football team before they could finally get to a point where they could actually strike at 20-14. And that's what they did late in the ball game, getting in the end zone with the Lamar Miller touchdown after some pass interference penalties, one on Jalen Ramsey, another on Jonathan Cyprien that put them at the 2-yard line that gave them an opportunity to get into the end zone. So the Texans scratched, they clawed, they did what they had to do. They persevered over a little bit of adversity, having to bench a quarterback, being down big. Um, they were down as many as 13 early in the game, down as many as 12 in the second half, and they found a way to battle back and win this football game, and that's what the good teams in this league do. They find ways to win. It's not always going to be pretty, but it's gritty and it's a W. Thought Jadeveon Clowney had himself a whale of a ball game for the Texans defense. Had a sack, had a batted ball, had a ton of pressures, had some tackles for loss. Thought he was impactful in this game, and that's what they're going to need from him down the stretch. That's what they're going to need from this Texans defense. Big interception to seal the deal by Demps. You're going to need big plays by your defense if you're the Texans because, again, you don't know what you're getting from the offense from week to week. You're going to need the defense to continue to be the backbone of this football team. You're going to need special teams to continue to step up, make plays like they've been doing, getting the holding penalty, knocking home field goals. You're going to need special teams to be better than they were on the coverage side of things. Can't give up a 100-yard kickoff return. Can't do that. This team is not good enough to give up scores on special teams. You're going to have to be a lot better there in your coverage if you're going to win moving forward because, again, you don't play the Jaguars again. That was your last get out of Jags free card. No more of those on the docket. You're going to have to win football games. Cincinnati coming into town, not going to be an easy W by any stretch of the imagination. They're pissed off because they let one slip through their fingers versus Pittsburgh. They're still playing hard. They're still a competitive football team. A.J. Green might be back next week. It could be trouble. If you play the way you played in this game, don't think for 1 second you're going to get a W if you're the Texans. Can't make the mistakes. And they got a dangerous return man over there in Alex Erickson. Almost broke one in that game versus Pittsburgh on Sunday. He's been dangerous all season long. You make a mistake, he's going to make you pay for those mistakes. You have situations where you fall behind versus them. You may not be able to come back. It's a different animal next week. So you're going to have to play better than you did in this game. But it was enough in Week 15 to get the win over the Jaguars 21-20. Savage comes in and plays not necessarily like a Savage, but he played well enough to help them win this game. And now they have a big decision to make to the Texans. Do you roll with Tom Savage or do you go back to Brock Osweiler? I think most Texans fans would love to see Tom Savage get a shot and leave Brock Osweiler on the bench. We'll see what the Texas organization does because, like I said, these types of moves doesn't necessarily mean that that's the permanent move. It's one of those in-game situations, one of those feels you have as a head coach. Hey, this needs to be done right now, and we'll reassess the situation at game's end. So we'll see if they decide to go back to Osweiler once more, give him another opportunity to see if he can rebound and play better. If I had to guess, I'd say that that's what they're going to do is give Osweiler another shot. But Tom Savage has made the decision increasingly harder with the way that he came in and played and led them to a victory. So we'll see what happens. Going to be very interesting to see if, in fact, the Texans have the balls to put Tom Savage in the final 2 games of the season with the division on the line nonetheless and give him a shot to get this Texans team into the postseason. We'll see what happens. But they get the win. Again, wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a W. You go to the Jags and what they did to lose this football game, it's what bad teams do. You find and create ways to lose. Jalen Ramsey, let's talk about him. What an outstanding performance he had and he put forth in this game. Gets his first career interception. Had a ton of breakups. He was physical all day long. Had a huge 4th and goal breakup of deep hops. Attempt at a fade in the end zone to force a turnover on downs. He was all over the football field, making plays repeatedly. I thought he had his best game of his career by far as he continues to mature at the cornerback position. He's going to be a good one for years to come. And only thing he did wrong in this game was a pass interference late in the game that gave the Texans a first down. But other than that, he was flawless in this game, was Jalen Ramsey. Thought the Jaguars showed some defensive prowess in this game with the 2 picks. They were running to the football. A great tackle by Telvin Smith on a 3rd down. Brent Grimes catches a ball underneath. Looked like he might have the angle to get the 1st down on a check down underneath. And great tackle by Telvin Smith to bring him up short by about 2 yards and force a punt. This is an aggressive, athletic Jaguars defense that is very talented. And there's some things to work with there on that side of the football. You get a return for a touchdown by Marquise Lee. You really like what you're getting out of Chris Myers as a field goal kicker. There's some stuff here. You know what I mean? Offensively, the biggest elephant in the room there is obviously Blake Bortles. The offensive line needs an upgrade as well. There's some issues along that offensive line, but the running back position could use a shot in the arm. There's some deficiencies offensively. I think there's some work to be done on that side of the football. But if you're talking defensively, I think this team has everything they need. They could use an elite pass rusher. But you'd love to see Yannick Ngakoue and Dante Fowler Jr. and those guys develop into elite pass rushers. But even if they're not, and I think Yannick Ngakoue, you might have something there. I don't know about Fowler Jr. I never thought he was an elite pass rusher at Florida coming into the league. I just thought he was an explosive guy. I didn't think he actually had any skill set in terms of getting to the quarterback. So you may need some more help there as far as getting to the quarterback. But this was a game that, if you're the Jaguars, that's part of the culture right now. That's part of the problem in Jacksonville. That's part of the reason why Gus Bradley had to go. They don't know how to win these types of games. They don't know how to get out of their own way in situations like this. You're up by 12 in the 4th quarter, 20-8. You've got a chance to hold on and get a win on the road, and you just don't make winning plays. You don't sustain offense. You don't get 1st downs. You get 2 opportunities at the very end of this game to possess the football. All you need is a field goal. You got a kicker with a big leg. His longest career field goal is 58. You're indoors, controlled environment. You're not going to have to do much to get him in the field goal range, and you can't even get a 1st down and put yourself. You get 1 1st down to Walters. And literally after that completion to Walters, you're probably about 15 to 20 yards away from a legit field goal opportunity that could win you this football game. And instead, you go backwards with a false start penalty, and you just put yourself in a bad spot. And Blake Bortles is under duress. He can't find anybody to get the football to. He almost gets sacked. It's just a mess. You get the football back, and on the very first snap, with about a minute left, again, all you need is a field goal to win. No timeouts, but plenty of time, a minute left. You got plenty of time to execute, and Blake Bortles throws up a moon ball that gets picked off by Demps to end the game. It's just frustrating. They had every opportunity to win this game, and they don't get it done. Defensively, like I said, they had opportunities to slam the door shut. They didn't do so. But this wasn't on the defense. This was on the offense. This was the inability to shut down this Texans team by sustaining offense. You were up. You just needed to burn clock. You just needed to put a drive together that lasted 3 to 5 minutes and really put them. They got a backup quarterback in the game. All you really needed to do was sustain offense in the 4th quarter, and you failed to do so. And because of it, Gus Bradley is on his way out as Jaguars head coach. After the game, it was announced that he was relieved of his duties. In my mind, I'm saying 2 games left. Really? You're going to wait till there's 2 games left? But it gives them a shot to get the process started into finding a new head coach. And they probably have a candidate or 2 in mind, which is why you make this move, because you want to start that process a little bit sooner, get a head start on all the other teams that will be looking for coaches come season's end. So, in effect, that's what this move does, is gives you an opportunity to get that process started a little sooner. Gus Bradley had all the enthusiasm in the world, but just simply didn't have what it took to be a head coach in this league. I think he's going to make a whale of a defensive coordinator once again. I think he's going to get that opportunity somewhere around the league, whether he heads back to Seattle and takes a lesser position just to get back on his feet, or he finds a job around the league, he's going to land on his feet somewhere. Because, like I said, this defense in Jacksonville wasn't bad. I think they've got enough talent to be a real fixture with this football team and be the catalyst, sort of like what you see in Tennessee, sort of like what you see with this Texans team. The defense is what drives those two teams. And so they need something like that in Jacksonville. Right now, offensively, they just don't stack up. So you're going to need the defense to give you a shot. And they got to create more turnovers like they did in this game. They haven't done that this season. They came into this game with 3 total turnovers on the season. They get 2 in this game. They need to force more turnovers, get more takeaways. They can do that defensively. They'll have shots moving forward. But this was a tough one to stomach if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. You just, at some point, you just want to get the feeling of winning, the taste of winning, because that's the only way you're going to change the culture in that locker room is to win. Probably as a Jags fan, you probably didn't want to win this game because it was going to just drop your draft status, and you don't want to. And I get it, fans, they think of things like that. I'm a guy that just likes to win. I don't give a damn. I want to win, and this was an opportunity to win and hurt the Texans in the process. Nothing better than hurting a divisional rival, and you're going to have ample opportunities to destroy team seasons this year. Down the stretch, you play every single team in the division once finishing up this season. That was your last one versus the Texans. You've got one more versus the Titans. You've got one more versus the Colts. You've got a chance to really wreck some seasons down the stretch. So why not do it? Had an opportunity here. Let it slip through your fingers. We'll see what happens with this Jaguars team moving forward as Gus Bradley is no longer in charge in Jacksonville, out as the Jaguars head coach after another abysmal season for the Jaguars under Gus Bradley. Let's get to some of your comments, see what you guys have to say about this game. Enrique Valencia says, was this the end of Brock in Houston? If Savage plays well the last 2 games and in the playoffs, who says he doesn't start next year? Who says he's starting the last 2 games? Again, they haven't come out and said that he's the definitive starter. They're going to go home, they're going to sit down, they're going to analyze, and they're going to make a decision. I think they're going to go back to Osweiler. I hope I'm wrong because I would love to see Tom Savage get an opportunity. He deserves a shot. He played well in this game. Let's see what happens, but no decision has been made yet, so let's not assume that Savage is going to start the final 2 games. We don't know what's going to happen in Jacksonville quite yet. DG Production says, dang, Lou, not feeling hot this morning, so I stayed home. Good morning anyway. Thoughts on Jalen and potential coaches. Hope you feel better, man, first and foremost. Talked about Jalen Ramsey and the magnificent performance he put forth in this game. By far and away his best game. Thought he gave them a shot out there. He took away their best option for the majority of the day. And it's not like Nuke didn't have a strong performance. Still had 8 catches for 87 yards. But he did give them a shot. He made some big plays, got the interception, made the 4th down knock away. He was there all day in Nuke's face, making him work. I thought he had a hell of a ball game. Potential coaches, I've heard Mike Smith, Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, as the lead candidate, which I'm not too enthused about. But we'll see what happens. We don't know what this Jaguars team is thinking. We don't know what direction they're going to go, offensive, defensive-minded head coach. There are a lot of candidates out there, but this is not an attractive job. A lot of jobs are going to open up, and there are at least 3 or 4 different jobs that if you're a prospective coach and you think you have options, there are at least 3 or 4 other jobs that you're thinking about taking before you even sniff around this Jacksonville Jaguars job. Because remember, when you take a job, you're tied to that quarterback. There's no quarterback in Jacksonville right now. You don't look at Blake Bortles and say, hey, I want to work with this guy. I think I can turn him into a viable, NFL quarterback. You might have to draft a guy, and this isn't a draft you look at and say, well, this guy's a definitive winner, a guy that I think I can win with at the quarterback position. None of these guys coming into the league strike me as a can't-miss prospect. So if you don't go, if you have an opportunity to go somewhere where there's already an established quarterback, you're going to go there and not to a place like Jacksonville. So I don't really know what the Jaguars are looking for right now in terms of a candidate. Vincent Coe says, what's up, Lou? 6 o'clock here in Cali, here waking up to some football breakdown. Hashtag is lit. What's going on, Vince? Glad you could join us. Mr. Cole says, how's Miles Jack's rookie season? He's solid. I saw him in there a ton running around, making some tackles. Again, more athleticism on this defense. I talked about that, how athletic, bless me, this Jacksonville Jaguars defense is. He's part of that athleticism that I talked about. And they're going to be better because of all of the picks they've made over the last 3 years or so with this defense. And it's going to come to fruition. If they get the right guy in there that can get this defense moving, much like in Tennessee with Dick LeBeau and what he's been able to do, if they can get a guy like that into Jacksonville with all of this athletic talent, they're going to be able to make some noise defensively with guys like Miles Jack, like Jalen Ramsey, like Telvin Smith, like Yannick Ngakoue. Maybe Dante Fowler Jr. can get his act together. They've got talent. They've got athleticism. It's all about putting it together in Jacksonville. Enrique Valencia says, now that Gus is fired, how attractive is the Jags job? With Blake Bortles as the quarterback, I doubt big names will want to take that job. And that's basically what I just spoke to. I don't think this is an attractive job right now unless you're a defensive-minded coach, whether it's a defensive coordinator like my man in Detroit, who I think is a very talented guy. You look at that Jags defense and you say, hey, I could do something with that. I don't know about the quarterbacking situation. I don't know about the offense, but I look at that defense. If I'm a defensive-minded coach and I say to myself, I can do something with that. Let me get my hands on that. I can turn this into a bona fide stud defense that's going to keep me in the ball game. And if I can find a running game, if I can get one of these stud backs in the draft, and if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're sitting in a position to draft a Fournette or a Dalvin Cook or whomever you like at the running back position. You get you one of those backs, you build that offensive line, and you get a decent defense, and you already have that in Jacksonville. Get the right head coach in there. All of a sudden, this could be one of those Tennessee Titans types of teams where you say, hey, we run the football, we play good defense, we don't turn it over, and we give ourselves a chance. So it just depends on your perspective. But yes, it's not an attractive job if you're an offensive-minded head coach because you don't have a quarterback there that you're enamored with in Jacksonville. Even though there's talent on the football team at the receiver position and even at the tight end position, you're not enamored with Blake Bortles and what he brings to the table. So I don't know how attractive that job is for an offensive-minded head coach. DG Production says, should Jags draft a quarterback or go with best player available and wait for a better option or a better QB draft class? You just take the best player available. If it's a quarterback and you like him, you take him. If it's not and it's a running back, you take him. If somehow Myles Garrett drops to you and you like him, you take him. That's what it's all about. You don't reach for players because of position in the top 5 of the draft. You get the best player available. That's how you build your team. When you're consistently picking in the top 5, you need to make sure you don't miss. The way you miss is by reaching for a player because of need. I don't want to say Blake was a reach because you needed Blake and you felt good about him, so you take him. But he hasn't panned out. You can't miss in the top 5 or you'll end up drafting in the top 5 year after year. And so if you're the Jags, you got to make sure that you take the right guy. Doesn't matter what position he plays. You just got to be the right guy. Mazer 12 says, then the underscore 12. So Mazer underscore 12 says, how do you say my name? How scary and he's basically telling me how to say his name. Yeah. How scary will the Texans defense be when they have a healthy Watt and Clowney on that line and Merciless as well? That's a scary group. The question is, can they all stay healthy at the same time? I don't want to make that assumption because I haven't seen those guys all healthy at the same time. This is the first real year that Clowney's been healthy, and he's still dealing with a number of injuries. He looks like Watt with the whole elbow thing going on right now. So he's dealing with issues, but he's still playing. But now that you've got a healthy Clowney, you don't have a healthy Watt. And so it seems like these guys are just tagging in and out. But if you could get Merciless, Clowney, and Watt all on the field at the same time, that is a formidable defense for sure. One of the better front sevens you'll see. One of the most destructive ones you'll have in this league because you can't focus in on one player. Watt is a beast, and he's going to take up 2 or 3 blockers, which is going to free up a guy like Merciless or Clowney to win one-on-one. I'd love to see that. Question is, can we get those guys to stay healthy? That's the biggest question there. Vincent Coe says, is Jadeveon Clowney's performance this year worth the pick in the first pick in the draft. Is he the player that people expected to be now? He's getting there. He's getting there, and it takes time. And I say this all the time. Each player is different. Each player is like a snowflake. They develop at a different rate of speed. You can't assume because one guy comes in and lights it up immediately that everyone's supposed to do that. Clowney's dealt with injuries. He's dealt with a little bit of adversity. He's finally healthy. He's playing at a very high level right now. He's really starting to get his feet wet and understanding what it's going to take to become a really good pro in this league. And if he can just stay healthy, you see what this guy's about and you see the ability and you see what he's capable of. Now it's all about getting him to maximize his talents and most importantly, stay available. He's got to be available and be able to play in order to continue to get better as a football player. But he's getting there. He's getting there. That number one overall pick, if he continues to stay healthy, will be justified by his play on the field. K. Michael says, is it safe to say the Jags front office will be moving on from Bortles and bringing in a veteran quarterback? If so, who would you sign? Well, there are not a number of veteran quarterbacks out there available for them to just say, oh, we're going to get one. Brian Hoyer is going to be available. There are not many other options out there for you to sign. So I don't think they're moving on from Bortles. I think they're going to give him another shot with this new regime that comes in. They're going to give him one last shot. And if he doesn't get it done next year, then they're going to move on. And they're going to draft another guy, and they're going to see what they can do in the future. But I think Blake Bortles is going to get another shot. You're going to have to trade for someone if you want to get a veteran in there. And again, if I'm a veteran, I don't want to go to Jacksonville because they don't know how to win. And if I'm a veteran looking to end my career on a high note, Jacksonville isn't the place to do that. So it's highly unlikely, and I see DG Production says, Romo to Jacksonville, probably not what you think. Exactly. If I'm Romo, I don't want to go to Jacksonville. That's not how I want to end my career. If I'm Drew Brees, I don't want to go to Jacksonville. These are guys that you might be able to trade for if the deal is sweet enough. But question is, why would I want to go to Jacksonville if I'm one of those guys? And that's the problem that you face with the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're a losing franchise. It's going to be hard to entice someone to come there. The only guy you're going to get to come there is a guy like, say, in Denver, if they're willing to trade Trevor Siemian. You could get Trevor Siemian to come in. But then again, who's Trevor Siemian and what has he done to warrant you trading for him and giving him a Brock Osweiler type deal? Again, that's what you face in Jacksonville. The prospects of going out and trying to get someone versus just drafting and developing your own talent and see what you can do. I think you're better off doing that than going out and trying to get something if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think all you're doing is creating another issue if you do that. Who knows? We'll see. Hard to say what the future holds for the Jaguars, what they can and can't pull off in the offseason. Still 2 games to go in the regular season, so hard to really start projecting off-season moves for this Jaguars team when there's still 2 games left to be played in the regular season. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this breakdown. Texans avoid disaster with the 21-20 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get it done in this game. Again, wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and most importantly, it was a W. They win. They move to 8-6, remain tied atop the AFC South Division with the Tennessee Titans, who got it done versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Gonna have to find a way to win out. Like I said before, and I've said it numerous times, gonna come down to Week 17 in Tennessee. That's gonna be for the division. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, win in Week 16, set up a huge matchup versus the Tennessee Titans. For the Jaguars, Gus Bradley gets canned after another tough, excruciating loss. They're 2-12 on the season. We see where this is heading. Now it's all about figuring out who's going to remain on the roster in these final 2 games and figuring out what the future holds for this Jacksonville Jaguars football team and franchise as they move forward. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room on the Louie Tee Network, lockdown coverage. Will the Texans move on from Brock Osweiler for the remainder of the season and give Tom Savage, ooh, yeah, the macho man, Tom Savage, a shot? Or will they go back to Brock Osweiler and see if B.O. can turn it around and get this Texans team in the playoffs? We shall see. Huge decision for the Texans brass to make in the upcoming days leading up to their next game. See you a little bit later on. Many more games to break down on this Monday. See you down the road. Have a good one. Stay tuned. Lockdown coverage all day, breaking down Week 15 in the National Football League.